when Doctor Who took a break from Christmas and started embracing the New Year's holiday instead, because I certainly do, and I happen to actually miss it quite a lot. So today we are going to be discussing the 13th Doctor New Year's specials / episodes and ranking them based on my very, very, very recent of last night 2026 New Year's Eve rewatch. It is somehow now the year 2026, and in the final hours of 2025, I found myself here at home completely alone, save for my 4 cats and some lovely friends across the internet who had already passed midnight. And considering everything else that's gone on in my life, particularly in the last 3 months, it was pretty fun. Especially since New Year's is my favorite holiday. Still, with it being my favorite holiday, I was determined to somehow make it special for myself, and one of the ideas I had was to do a marathon of the New Year's specials / episodes, as well as watching the TV movie. Now, unfortunately, I actually forgot that Spyfall Part 1 aired on New Year's Day, so I was running late, I was running behind, and I did not make it to the TV movie. I only got through the specials, but I actually had an absolute blast, and it did totally save my night, so I thought I would throw together a quick video talking about each one. So the New Year's specials, save for Spyfall, which is kind of more just a general series opener that happened to air on New Year's Day, present as sort of a Dalek trilogy for the 13th Doctor. And here's the thing. I hate the Daleks. I'm sorry, but I do. I don't know how many more times I can watch or read or listen to a Dalek story where they're described as the biggest threat in the universe and they're indestructible and I'm supposed to feel all these stakes, and yet they're often quite easily defeated over and over again so many times, and it feels like there is never a break from the Daleks almost wherever you go in any corner of the Whoniverse. So altogether, it takes quite a bit for me to fully, truly, completely enjoy a Dalek story, and there always has to be something unique about it, and as with a lot of Doctor Who monsters, I feel with the Daleks that less is a lot more. The 2005 episode Dalek, for example, is so enjoyable and perfect to me because it's able to show the indestructibility and the threat of the Daleks by showing just how much danger one of them can be alone and how much slaughter it can accomplish by itself. And there's a very intimate and personal sense of danger and risk and violence, and there's obviously also a lot of very interesting emotional things going on with the Doctor and the Time War very recently happening. So that is kind of an illustration of what I enjoy in the Dalek story compared to the general stereotypical Dalek story. If we go episode by episode, Resolution really starts things off with a bang for me, and from the first few minutes alone, really affirmed my decision to do this marathon. I honestly really adore this episode. As I said, less is more when it comes to the Daleks for me, and I really liked the sort of lone Dalek scout in this episode. I particularly really enjoy the body horror elements to this episode, with the Dalek scout latching on to Lynn like a parasite and using her as a host to carry out this violence and to do all of these horrifying things. Like the scene where it sort of becomes one with Lynn and is controlling her movements and even her speech, and just that very slow takeover with her resistance is very, very scary to me, as well as the detail of it, like, having to plug up this hole in her neck from where it was latched on and, like, leeching off of her and controlling her. Like, there is just so much there that is very gross and very terrifying and very, like, I got bit by a tick once, and it makes me visually, it reminded me of the tick on my arm, and obviously the tick was not making me kill people, it was just drinking my blood, but visually, and just in terms of body horror, it's a very, like, it really sticks with me as an episode, as an image, as a threat. I also feel like the 13th Doctor is in top form here. She's very much still got that very fresh, bubbly, you know, Series 11 personality, but there are elements of that more serious, dark aspects of her starting to trickle in. Jodie Whittaker is given a lot of great things to do here, and it falls along the whole spectrum of the 13th Doctor, from her very cheery, quirky nature, to her caring, defensive, kind of protective nature, to the more toxic, closed-off 13, to that very serious, you know, menacing and compelling 13th Doctor. It's just a lot of great stuff, and as usual with Jodie's performance as the Doctor, it's very addicting to watch. Overall, a great episode for her Doctor, and I feel like she really gets to shine here. Most importantly, I do actually love Ryan and Graham as characters, mainly in Series 11. Maybe it's just because I come from a very complex web of blended family. I've always been really attached and compelled by their journeys as characters and as a family, and that's obviously on full focus and display in this episode when Ryan's dad returns and Ryan has to grapple once again with what family means to him and with who gets to be family to him. Tosin Cole's a great actor. As much as I love the 13th Doctor's era, okay, I can admit that it does not even come close to utilizing him to his full potential. So I do really appreciate when Ryan as a character is more explored and Tosin gets more of an opportunity to show his skills and to shine. It's a very emotional episode for him, for Graham, for Ryan's dad, and as much as I wish the overall plot was a bit more tied into their story, I get so emotional watching this episode, particularly at the end where Ryan saves his dad. I think the villain is great. I think all characters besides maybe Yaz are in tip-top shape, but I really do think it does a great job of embodying the spirit of New Year's, of forgiveness and reflection and letting go of some things, but holding on what's most important to us. Like Kasavan especially, I don't feel that they eventually lived up to the potential that was presented in this episode in part 2. I do feel like that fell flat. However, in part 1, I feel like they have such a unique concept, and I was very intrigued, and I still am when I rewatch it, by the ways in which they interact with the world and the characters in the universe, the powers that they have, and the potential motivations that they have. I think there was a lot of really interesting stuff there that could have gone a lot differently, but it still leaves a lasting impact on me, and I still, upon rewatch, do enjoy them as villains, as monsters. It is such a riot rewatching this episode, knowing that the Master is pretending to be O. There is just so many things that you pick up on, so many things that he says and things that he does where you just know he is perfectly tailoring every bit of it and every bit of the situation to what he knows will attract the Doctor's attention, to what he knows the Doctor loves in humans, in mysteries. It's so great. And on top of that, you have moments where the Master is clearly getting irritated, and you can tell he really just wants to drop the facade, but he keeps it going. It's just great. Sacha Dhawan does such a great job playing the Master, and the second he shifts into that character, it's like, I'm so latched onto the screen, the smile is on my face, and I think it's so great because, as I said in Resolution, you kind of see those more serious, dark bits of the 13th Doctor trickling in, and I think it's really interesting and really great that the Master returning in this special, and not even just Gallifrey, but just him returning, really seems to be the thing that finally clicks the true nature of this Doctor into place. I love that. I love the dynamic, so I love this special because of that. We hit a slump with this one. I will say, I feel this episode is a slump. I remember enjoying this episode when it was released, and it's not like I hate it, to be fair, but when you put it in a marathon like that and you contrast it to the other episodes I'm discussing today, I don't know, I feel like it falls short in a lot of ways. The Daleks feel a lot more typical and true to form here, which, as I said, I don't particularly like. I think it loses almost all of that sense of intimate danger and realistic threat, goes back to that big, large-scale invasion, but even then, that doesn't really feel super effective. The episode has good character moments, and I stress moments because I feel like overall, in the grand scheme of the episode, it doesn't really feel like any particular character is given much to do that has a lot of weight to it. When you combine that with the sense of actual stakes and personal threat of danger being removed, it kind of just feels like meh, like an average day on the job. Even Jack's return and the prison break feel underwhelming because it's quick, it's resolved quickly, and it doesn't feel like it actually has a lot of impact on the plot or on these characters. The few moments that we get are delicious to me, especially in the beginning, seeing Yaz begin to really get obsessed with the doctor and love her and be so desperate to find her, and then, you know, seeing the seeds of Thasmin be more concretely sown with her conversation with Jack. Obviously the fam breaking apart with Graham and Ryan leaving is sad to me because it's kind of that end of that first era of the 13th Doctor, and it'll never not make me sad. But overall, it's just an episode to me, and kind of like Spyfall, I don't particularly feel like it was invoking any sense of the New Year's spirit, which when you have 2 New Year's episodes in a row that don't do that, and I'm trying to, like, have a vibe, make New Year's Eve special for me, I was kind of just excited to get to Eve by, like, the midway point. So just want to say, the DVD box set that I own of the Jodie Whittaker era labels this episode as the 2020 Christmas special, so it's the wrong year and the wrong holiday, and that has nothing to do with the episode overall. It's not like it's the end of the world, but it is just, it's kind of haunting me a little bit. How the is this episode 4 years old? Seriously, what the hell? Because I feel like I need to go into the retirement home. Anyway, this episode really picks things back up for me in terms of the Daleks and the New Year's special. Again, unique aspect with the Daleks as villains in the form of the time loop. And what I really love about the time loop in this episode is that you would expect to feel the sense of security and safety, like, okay, we're trapped, but at least we have an unlimited amount of tries to get this right, you would think. Except the episode counteracts this by having the time loop get shorter each time, counting down to midnight, which is so perfect, and also really reinstates that sense of urgency and wondering if if everybody's actually gonna make it out of there. The sense of intimate danger and real, you know, stakes and real threat also returns here because we only have 1 to 2 Daleks. They're all trapped in a very relatively small setting with a small cast of characters, and the indestructibility and the threat that they pose is actually more believable and real to me because, again, we're seeing what a very small number of them can do. Even if the deaths aren't permanent, they're still deaths, and they're still terrifying because you get so many different ways to see these characters desperately try to outrun death, and the ways in which they're reacting to the people that they know, that they love, that they're trying to save, being killed, and sometimes even reacting to the idea of themselves being killed in so many different situations, in terms of self-sacrifice or in being in the wrong place at the wrong time, making just that one small wrong move. I think there's also something really emotional and really terrifying about one or more of the characters dying and the other characters having this realization that in order to save them or try to see them again, they too are probably also going to have to die in order to reset the time loop. I'm gonna hurry up, but I just want to give a quick shout out to Dan the Man, honorary lesbian, for somehow playing wingman in all of this. Maybe not the best time, but it had to happen eventually. Like Resolution, this episode actually feels like it does embody and really invoke the spirit of New Year's, particularly the more negative aspects of it. It's a time of reflection, but sometimes that can be pretty difficult. Sometimes you're spending New Year's Eve feeling like you haven't really moved much from the last one, and it starts to really settle in that you're feeling like you're running out of time to be the person you want to be, to do the things you want to do, and at the same time you're so impossibly stuck. Like, you're in this time loop of New Year's where you are trying to move forward, you're trying to reflect, you're trying to honor the good, while at the same time you're kind of remembering all this bad stuff that happened in the year, or, you know, places where you feel like you're falling short, and it's kind of crushing you. Sometimes you get lucky and you're presented with this new opportunity and way to move forward, and sometimes you're just sat there feeling like it's any other day, like it's just a slightly different version of the time loop that you're stuck in every New Year's. It's depressing, it's relatable, and it is perfectly New Year's in only a way that Doctor Who could celebrate. So, if I had to rank these specials, I think I would put Resolution as equal to Eve, which is better than Spyfall, which is better than Revolution. Overall, great time rewatching these episodes. I'm really glad I did it. I'm proud of myself for finding something to make the night special, and hopefully I'm not alone next year, but if I am, I will find a way to work the TV movie back into it. Thank you for watching. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on these specials, as well as how you would possibly rank them in the comments. However, you can also follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, etc., pretty much anywhere under the username Protagonist Ivy, and I would love to chat with you there. I hope you all had something, no matter how small, that made your New Year's feel special. And most importantly, I really hope that this next year brings a lot of light and love and safety, but also adventure and opportunity for all of us. Until I see you next time, however, I hope you stay safe, happy, and healthy. I hope you have a great day, night, whatever time it is for you, and have a very happy and wonderful new year. Welcome to 2026.